With over 1,200 episodes of the Pokemon anime, we've seen literally millions of different Pokemon over the years. And for this video, I'm going to be ranking the 10 strongest Pokemon ever from the anime. Now before we begin with this list, we're definitely going to need to lay out some ground rules. First and foremost, Legendaries, and by extension Mythicals, will not count. However, I must note that feats against Legendaries and Mythicals will count for normal Pokemon, but the Legendaries themselves will not count. And for the next rule, there will be no hypotheticals considered for this ranking. By this, I mean no saying, maybe this could happen, or what about this? And by this, I mean something like, oh, Ash's Sceptile should be on here because it has the possibility to Mega Evolve. Nah, that would just be way too complicated. But other than that, that's it. Let's get started now with some honorable mentions. The first honorable mention goes to Ash's Charizard. Obviously, he was Ash's main powerhouse for about 3 whole generations, and it even took down Articuno. But unfortunately, it hasn't seen much battling experience since its return to Oak's lab. The next honorable mention is Ash's Sceptile, another hard-hitting starter who was able to take down the unbeaten Darkrai. The only problem is, Sceptile hasn't fought in another battle since then, so I simply can't put it on this list. And the final Ash Ketchum honorable mention goes to Dragonite. She was an absolute force in Pokemon Journeys, especially towards the beginning of the series. And then finally, I want to give honorable mentions to the aces of Ash's most powerful rivals, like Gary's Blastoise, Paul's Electivire, Sawyer's Mega Sceptile, Kukui's Incineroar, and Raihan's Duraludon. Alright, well that does it for the honorable mentions. Let's get right into the real rankings, starting off at number 10. Coming in strong at 10th place is Lance's Dragonite. Now, Lance's Dragonite was introduced to us way back in the original series during the Red Gyarados arc. At this time, Lance was far and away the strongest character we had ever seen in the Pokemon anime. When compared to the likes of Ash, he was leagues ahead of him with respect to both power and experience. And thanks to Dragonite, Lance was able to defeat Team Rocket and even capture the shiny Gyarados. We then saw the Dragon Master and his pseudo-legendary in the Advanced series, while Groudon and Kyogre engaged in battle. And while Dragonite wasn't really able to do any damage to the legendary titans, he was able to evade and outspeed many of their attacks. Then, after a long break, we got to see Lance and his Dragonite battle together against Diantha in the first round of the Masters 8 tournament. Lance led off with Dragonite, and after sustaining some significant damage, it was able to take down Diantha's Aurorus. It was then later used and Dynamaxed by Lance against Diantha's Mega Gardevoir. However, Gardevoir was able to defeat Dragonite, ultimately costing Lance the match and his spot in the tournament. Dragonite is a Pokemon that has somewhat regressed over the Pokemon anime. It might not be that he got worse, it might just be that the other Pokemon got better and stronger. Still though, it was a very formidable pseudo, and definitely the strongest Dragonite in the whole Pokemon anime. Also, don't forget that in the finals of the previous Masters 8, Lance decided to use his shiny Gyarados over his Dragonite for his 1v1 matchup against Leon. This only serves to prove that Lance's Dragonite isn't all that much of an ace. We're going from one Dragon Master's ace to the next here with Iris's Haxorus. Now this Pokemon might have just had the biggest off-screen upgrade of all time. This Haxorus is literally the Black Frieza of Pokemon. But yes, obviously Haxorus started off as the puny and downright annoying Axew. But while Ash was traveling through other regions, both Axew and Iris locked in and became much stronger. Unfortunately, most of Haxorus' impressive feats and moments occurred off-screen, as it was likely able to carry Iris to become the champion of Unova, and then ultimately the 7th-ranked trainer in the world by the start of the Masters 8. But while it was on screen in Pokemon Journeys, it had an even 50% win rate by winning 2 battles and losing 2 battles. It was able to defeat Ash's Dracovish and Cynthia's Milotic, who are undoubtedly some of the strongest water types in the entirety of the anime. And meanwhile, Haxorus did end up losing to Ash's Dragonite and Cynthia's Garchomp. But it is worth noting that both of these losses came after Haxorus had already defeated the previously mentioned Pokemon. If we take a deeper look into the battle against Cynthia's Garchomp, Iris and Haxorus were able to push Cynthia to her absolute limit, a feat that at the time, no one else had ever done before in the Pokemon anime. I mean, Cynthia really had to reveal her Mega Evolution trump card to pull off this win. And meanwhile, Iris and Haxorus were the only champion ace duo in the tournament to not have access to a battling gimmick. If the two had the ability to Dynamax or even use a Z move, I can confidently say they would have taken down the Queen of Sinnoh and her OP Mega Garchomp. In 8th place, we have the champion of the Hoenn region's shining ace, the supercomputer pseudo-legendary Metagross. Now, while Steven was introduced into the Pokemon anime way back in the Advanced series, we didn't actually see his Metagross until the XY anime. It burst onto the scene by taking on Alain's Mega Charizard, and while their battle was interrupted, Metagross and Steven were certainly in control of that match. Then, later on, Metagross was able to hold its own against the Weather Trio while they were all in their primal forms. And as you may know, the Weather Trio are the second strongest group of legendaries in the anime, just one step below the Creation Quartet. Then we see Steven and Metagross during the Team Flare arc, where the two easily defeated various Team Flare grunts and aided in the protection of the Kalos region. It's kind of weird to think that while Steven and Metagross were certainly shown a ton during the XY anime, they didn't really partake in any real battles. But of course, that changed in the Masters 8 tournament when Steven took on Ash in the first round. Now, I'll be brutally honest with you. Metagross should not have lost to Ash's Pikachu in the first round. Both Metagross and Steven were dominating this battle, and Pikachu wasn't even able to land a hit on Metagross. But unfortunately for Steven, he was battling the main character of the anime, so he fell victim to what we call plot armor. Pikachu is finally able to connect on an attack with its Z move, and once that happens, it's pretty much game over for Metagross. So now that we know pretty much every battle Metagross has taken part of, it's kinda crazy to realize that he doesn't actually have any official wins. But there's still no denying the incredible raw potential here with Steven's Metagross, and I feel as if it falls victim to plot more than any other Pokemon on this entire list. In 7th place, we have Ash's final regional ace, Lucario. Now, lucky for us, Lucario has a ton of evidence and statistics to help us establish a proper ranking for it. So early on in the Pokemon Journey series, we kinda knew this Mon was gonna be special. Ash and the Riolu egg had a special aura bond, and this totally made sense, seeing how Ash had always had powerful aura, dating all the way back to the Advanced series. Once Riolu had hatched from this egg, he quickly became Ash's most used Pokemon. Then, during a battle against President Rose, Riolu finally evolved and was able to solo Rose's Copperajah and Ferrothorn. Lucario then went on to gain some incredible experience by taking on the likes of Eternamax Eternatus, as well as Mewtwo. Lucario only got more powerful thanks to gaining access to Mega Evolution, but even while it's in its base form, its aura powers are much more powerful thanks to its bond with Ash. Then during the final stretch of Pokemon Journeys, it was able to defeat the likes of B's Gigantamax Machamp and even Raihan's Gigantamax Duraludon. Lucario then had an incredible showing in the Masters 8 tournament, where it was able to defeat both Cynthia's Dynamax Togekiss as well as her Garchomp. Then in the finals, Lucario was able to defeat Leon's Mr. Rime before falling to Dragapult. Lucario finished with 13 wins, 5 losses, and 2 ties. That means it had a really solid 70% win rate. Overall, Lucario was an incredible Pokemon for Ash, and if he had received a bit more training and development, there's no doubt he would be much higher on this list. In 6th place, we have the strongest Fairy and Psychic type in the entirety of the Pokemon anime, Diantha's Mega Evolving Gardevoir. Pretty much every time Diantha's Gardevoir was used, it was shown to be incredibly powerful. In its first ever on-screen appearance, Gardevoir dodges every single attack of Magnum's Absol and then takes it down with ease. Then we see Diantha and Gardevoir take place in another battle when they squared off with Ash and his Greninja. Now, unfortunately, this battle was not completed because Ash passed out as he was not yet able to control the Ash-Greninja form. However, during this battle, it did seem as if Ash and his Greninja had the upper hand for most of it, and the two were even able to force Diantha to use Mega Evolution to keep up. Gardevoir and Diantha did of course aid in the protecting of Kalos during the Team Flare arc, but much like Steven's Metagross, they didn't really get the chance to show off their power beyond just taking down some Team Flare grunts. But of course, Diantha and Gardevoir were really able to display their power in the Masters 8 tournament. While trailing Lance 2 Pokemon to 1, Gardevoir was Diantha's last hope to advance to the next round, and boy did she come through. After Mega Evolving, Gardevoir was easily able to take down Hydreigon, and then even take down Lance's Dynamax Dragonite. Now, of course, I must note that Diantha's Gardevoir had a major type advantage over Lance's dragons, and both of these dragons had previously engaged in battle, whereas Diantha's Gardevoir was still fresh. Still, it's an impressive feat nonetheless. Diantha then moved on to the semifinals against Leon, and while most of her team underperformed, Gardevoir certainly did not. It was able to take down Leon's incredibly OP Rillaboom, then it Mega Evolved and squared off in an epic battle with Leon's Charizard. Gardevoir was able to deflect one of Charizard's G-Max Wildfire attacks. This means it was able to straight up overpower the attack. But then, the duo from Kalos fell victim to plot armor, ultimately losing to Leon and his Charizard. But still, Diantha was certainly the breakout star of the Masters 8 tournament, and Gardevoir is definitely the biggest reason as to why. Next, we find ourselves with one of the most popular Pokemon ever, Ash-Greninja. Now, where does one even start with the legendary Ash-Greninja? Right from the start of the XY series, we knew this Froakie was special, seeing how it was waiting for a trainer who could bring out its true power. So, naturally, Froakie and Ash were a perfect match. Then, throughout the X and Y series, Froakie progressed, gained power, and then even evolved. During this time, we were also getting some major hints as to this Pokemon's hidden potential. Then everything changed in the Ninja Village when Frogadier evolved into Greninja. Then, pretty much the entirety of the XYZ anime season became the Greninja show. It showed off its power by taking on various Mega Pokemon, and it was even able to gain control of a battle against the champion of Kalos. And once Ash and Greninja were able to master the Battle Bond phenomenon, the two became even stronger as they were finally battling as one. And at the time, this resulted in Greninja carrying Ash to the farthest he had ever been in a regional league. Unfortunately though, Greninja did fall to the likes of Alain's Mega Charizard, but even with this major loss, Greninja's power was like nothing we had ever seen from any Ash Ketchum Pokemon. It was so strong in fact, that Zygarde decided it needed Greninja's help to destroy those powerful roots. And unlike many of Ash's other Pokemon, Greninja has kept up with his training and has even greatly increased his power. This was displayed in Pokemon Journeys when Ash and his Lucario decided to pay Greninja a visit in Kalos. It's there that Greninja really got the opportunity to show off his power by totally outclassing Ash's Lucario in every way. And while we didn't get to see Ash and Greninja initiate the bond phenomenon, there's no doubt that Greninja's power would have skyrocketed even higher. It really is too bad that we didn't get the chance to see Greninja show a bit more of his power. It would have been awesome to see Greninja make a triumphant return in the Masters 8 tournament. In 4th place is Alain's Charizard. We as viewers got to spend a lot of time with this Charizard, and we really got to see how powerful it is. Thanks to the Mega Evolution specials, we were really able to see just how powerful Alain's Ace was, and boy was it impressive. I mean, we saw it take on the likes of Elite Four Pokemon, Champions Aces, while also defeating 10 different Mega Pokemon in a row. Then during the main XYZ anime, we saw Charizard almost single-handedly carry Alain to the finals. It wasn't until Alain faced off with Ash in the finals that he and his Mega Charizard were even remotely challenged. He squared off with Ash's Pikachu and was able to take it down. Then he went on to have the infamous battle with Ash's Greninja. And after a visually stunning showdown, Alain and Charizard were able to take down Ash and win the Kalos League. Then, after some time, we see Alain make his long-awaited return in the first round of the Masters 8 tournament, where, most likely thanks to Mega Charizard X, he was able to earn the 6th overall seed going into the tournament. Unfortunately for Alain, he got paired up with Leon in the first round, and again, plot armor really hurt here. Leon swept through most of Alain's team in very quick fashion. And luckily, Mega Charizard was at least able to take down Leon's Rillaboom before falling to Leon's Charizard while it was still in its base form. This battle was incredibly disrespectful to Alain. Well yes, when the matchup between he and Leon got revealed, it was pretty obvious that he wasn't going to be making it out of that round, but still, the battle could have been handled better. Still though, even after all this, there's no denying how powerful Alain's Ace is. We all know this Mon, and we more than likely have a little bit of hate for it. It's Cynthia's Garchomp. Cynthia's Garchomp is another mon we've seen take part in many battles over the course of the series. It was first shown off in the DP series when it was easily able to defeat Lucian's Bronzong. Then Cynthia took on Paul, where Garchomp was easily able to sweep through Paul's Chimchar, Weavile, Murkrow, and Torterra. This beatdown absolutely humiliated Paul and forced an outright forfeit. Then, during the Team Galactic arc, Garchomp was a huge help to our heroes by easily taking down the likes of many Team Galactic grunts and admins. Then, to finish up the Diamond and Pearl series, Flint aimed to take the title of Sinnoh Champion from Cynthia, so he challenged her to a televised battle. However, things did not end well for Flint, as Cynthia and her Garchomp were able to defeat his Infernape. In Black and White, Cynthia and Garchomp were easily able to take down Iris's Axew, and then Garchomp fought Caitlyn's Gothitelle to a tie, but that was only due to the battle's time limit. Then in Pokemon Journeys, we got to see even more of Garchomp when it was revealed to have the ability to Mega Evolve. And it was in the first round of the Masters 8 tournament that it was able to defeat Iris's Haxorus. And then against Ash in the second round, Garchomp was able to defeat Ash's Sirfetch'd in an epic clash. So overall, Garchomp has been an incredibly stable powerhouse for Cynthia. We constantly see competitors aiming to take her title as Sinnoh Champion, only to have Garchomp put them right in their place. The only real loss Garchomp ever took was to Ash's Lucario, but had Cynthia decided to Mega Evolve her Garchomp, she likely would have gotten the better of Ash. Now, Leon's Ace will earn the silver medal and its spot as the second strongest Pokemon of all time. After Leon and his Charizard lost their first ever battle to Sonia, the duo went on to an incredible undefeated run while earning Leon the title of Champion of Galar and then later World Monarch. We first saw Charizard square off with Lance's Red Gyarados in the finale of the previous Masters 8 tournament. Lance and his Gyarados controlled the early part of this battle, and Lance even Dynamaxed his Gyarados in hopes of ending the battle right then and there. Leon then responded by Gigantamaxing his Charizard, regaining control of the battle, and defeating Gyarados. A few episodes later, Leon and Charizard took on Ash and Pikachu, where of course they won with ease. Then throughout the rest of Pokemon Journeys, Leon and Charizard squared off with many other powerful opponents, like Raihan's G-Max Duraludon and Flint's Infernape. But it was during the Masters 8 tournament that we really got to see what this Charizard can do. In the first round against Alain, Leon's Charizard was able to defeat Malamar and defeat Alain's Mega Charizard X while it was still in its base form. Then, in the semifinals against Diantha, Gigantamax Charizard was able to get the better of Mega Gardevoir. And in the tournament's finale, Charizard was Leon's final Pokemon he used against Ash. There, he clashed with Ash's Pikachu in an epic Gigantamax vs Z-move collision. Charizard was able to push Pikachu to its absolute limit, but ultimately, he fell just short of the win. Which is why, of course, Charizard only earns the second strongest Pokemon in the anime. But coming in first, was there really any doubt as to who it would be? Claiming the title of the strongest Pokemon in the entirety of the anime is Ash's Pikachu. His day one homie, the face of the franchise, and arguably the most iconic duo in all of fiction. Ash and his Pikachu have been through it all over the years. And with being the main Pokemon in the series, there comes a lot of good, and even a little bit of bad. But yes, obviously of all the Pokemon on this list, we have the most information and battles to work with Pikachu here. Now, I definitely can't list off every battle that Pikachu ever had, but I can give you its final official battling record. That being 132 wins, 59 losses, and 8 ties. Which means Pikachu won an astonishing 68% of its battles over the course of the anime. Pikachu's feats are plentiful, but let's just list off a few of its most iconic and impressive moments. It took down Drake's powerful Dragonite, it defeated Brandon's Regice, it tied Tobias's Latios, it defeated two of Alain's pseudo-legendaries, it beat Gladion Silvally, then tied his Zoroark, it overpowered and defeated Tapu Koko, and then, in the Masters 8 tournament, it went absolutely crazy. He took down Steven's Cradily and Mega Metagross in the first round. In the second round, Pikachu defeated Cynthia's Gastrodon and tied her Spiritomb. But Pikachu's best ever battle came in the finals against Leon. It was able to exchange blows with Gigantamax Charizard and cause a massive explosion. Then Pikachu G-Maxed and took down Leon's G-Max Cinderace, only to square off once again with Charizard in the most epic battle the anime has ever seen. And of course, Pikachu was able to overcome Charizard, which earned Ash the World Championship, while also earning Pikachu the title of the strongest Pokemon in the entirety of the anime. Pikachu is and forever will be the very best, like no one ever was. Well guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. This one was a ton of fun to make, and I'm dying to hear what you guys think of my rankings. So, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Thanks guys!